Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Jack Liu, founder of WanChain. Today, we are going to talk about WanChain and its ecosystem. And we have several projects to present to you. And I will start with introduction about WanChain, called Rebuilding Finance with Private Cross-Chain Smart Contracts. A little bit about myself. Oops. Yeah. I grew up in China, and I lived in Beijing for about 8 years. And in 1996, I went to US, went to America, in the Middle West, a town called Columbus. I studied economics over there. And they named the town called Columbus. There's a reason. In the central part, there's a river. Sitting there, exact replica of the ship Christopher Columbus used to discover America. I went to see the ship many times. I was just amazed. The size of the ship is so small. And they were able to make it from Europe to across the ocean. And I'm one of the early pioneers in this new land, new continent of digital wealth. We call it blockchain. We call it token economy. I was an early investor in Bitcoin and many other coins, and started as a moonlighter. I'm a software engineer as well. I'm some sort of hacker. And in 2014, in Austin, Texas, I started a new tribe called Factum. And after that, we really, all the tribe people started to go above ground. We start wear suits. We go around the world, try to sell blockchain technologies to all these companies, to the government, around the world. A lot of government agencies or administrations, they just came to us. And 2016, actually 1 year earlier, I came back to China and started to sell the solution as well. I started a company called Wanglu in China. In 2017, started with a project called WanChain. So why do we need WanChain? As I described, there are many tribes out there in this new continent. They're speaking different languages. And then of course, we try to talk to each other. And then we use exchanges to exchange different tokens. And then that's not a perfect world. At the same time, we sort of see this in the two different universes, or we call it parallel lines. One is on the digital world, things flying so fast, right? New tokens are created every day. But then on the traditional world, on the government side, on the enterprise, traditional enterprise, including banks, they're trying very, very hard. They try different solutions. They create labs, put money, a lot of money, throw people in there. They try to use different technologies, tried it out, but moving very, very slowly. Including my company in China, we try to set up enterprise solutions for these companies. And these two worlds, will they eventually merge? Certainly, I believe so. After thinking a long time, we felt that we have a solution called WanChain. WAN stands for Wide Area Network. We're trying to connect all these different tribes or networks together in the decentralized way. We can connect with public chains, at the same time, private chains or consortium chains for the enterprises. We use a very unique technology that allows us to connect with any chain without any permission. I'm not going to go into the technical details here, but I'm going to present you with architecture diagram. Actually, it's not that complicated. We create our own protocol. We use the technology called secure multi-party computation and also threshold key sharing technology. That allows us to connect with any chains, as long as they are using public key and private key schemes. So where are we now? We already launched our platform early this year, and it has been running for a while, and everything's so smooth. And we plan to integrate with Ethereum and Bitcoin sometime this year. And at the same time, we want to integrate with enterprise solutions. So we call it something called LANchain, if you see it in the bottom. LAN stands for local area network. That will include all kinds of technologies. You name it, right? EA enterprise solutions, or including some, faster, enterprise solutions, or we have our own solutions. What we're trying to do is, even though with smaller networks, with little computation power, we don't have to waste a lot of energy. We can use some kind of network to interlock with each other. So just like the anchoring mechanism we created at Factum, we use something similar, like a ledger. At the end of the day, at 10 minutes, every 1 minute, you can create a summary and put a summary in a different chain. So all these different chains support each other. That won't waste a lot of energy. So in the future of this world, we'll have a lot of networks. All these networks will have all kinds of different applications. And in a few days, we'll announce many more projects on the more financial-oriented projects. And like exchange of payment, stable coins, loans, and all of that. But today, we're going to focus on enterprise-related solutions. How are we going to connect with, blockchains created by traditional enterprises? If they're banks, if they have fiat currency tokenized on blockchain, we can introduce, it's like a river, we'll let the water flow into this whole new ecosystem. At the same time, we're working with other partners, including Aon, ICOM, from around the world, many other partners as well, to create a new protocol, like a TCP/IP created by Tim Berners-Lee in the late 80s for the internet. We are creating a new internet of blockchains. So we're working towards a new protocol that will allow us to introduce or interconnect all these different economies, different tribes. So we'll create a totally new land of this digital world. Okay, let me show you a little video about WanChain so you can easily understand it. Can somebody help? Oops. Sorry. Can someone help to play the video for me? Audio, please.
The world of finance as we know it will forever be changed by the innovation of the digital asset. Since the introduction of Bitcoin in 2009, applications built on the blockchain technology have exploded. New digital assets on public, private, and consortium blockchains have driven the market cap to over $400 billion, and this trend will continue. The problem we are running into is that each of these blockchains operate in its own silo. Decentralized applications on a specific blockchain can only access digital assets on that particular blockchain. Applications that need to reach multiple blockchains must depend on a centralized and vulnerable exchange to facilitate the access. This is similar to how banks operate today. Moving money from one bank to another is a slow and expensive process, with different ledger entries being created at each bank to record the transaction. If there is ever going to be an internet of blockchains, they'll have to communicate. WanChain is here to give you access to all the world's digital assets and dApps, like decentralized exchanges, payment, and lending dApps, from a single blockchain. Based on Ethereum's codebase, WanChain's blockchain can run any traditional smart contract utilizing existing toolchains. WanChain's implementation of secure multi-party compute and threshold key sharing allows any distributed app to access any digital asset from any blockchain in WanChain's blockchain. Additionally, WanChain has implemented Monero-style privacy protection with ring signatures, one-time addresses, and stamp systems to obfuscate all transactions. Built upon the pillars of privacy, cross-chain, and smart contracts, WanChain is here to lead the financial services industry into the new digital frontier. WanChain. We're not repairing, we're rebuilding finance.
All right. Let's welcome my colleague, Lini, our Vice President, to give us more details about what's happening at WanChain.
Okay, thank you, guys. So my name is Lini. I'm the VP of WanChain. So as you may be aware of that, for the first batch of WanChain ecosystem projects, we actually brought to Japan for the first time 3 brilliant blockchain application projects today. So in the next session, so all of these, each of these 3 blockchain application project teams will illustrate the details, how they implement the spirit of blockchain into an application. And here I just doing some very brief introduction before all these 3 blockchain application teams give their presentation. I show you the idea of WanLab. This is a new business model based on WanChain. So we call this as a blockchain factory because I hate to use the word incubator. Because why? Incubator is meaning sometimes you got some talented people, they have some great idea, but they don't have the money, they don't have the technology or the expertise to help them realize their ideas. But actually, WanLab is helping very mature, or we say successful, and traditional enterprises or business to move their traditional business to the blockchain. So that is the idea that we help them from end to end to providing not technical transfer or technical support, but also this marketing and also the team building, this kind of things. So this is the WanLab. Okay, so you may ask us how WanLab choose good projects. As you can find a huge amount of projects from last year to this year. Here I just give you some criteria how we pick up good application projects. The first is these kind of projects, they should have some pain points, which means, as we can see from the case of Facebook, they are very centralized or monopolized traditional internet app. But the user's privilege, the user's privacy, your data has been manipulated or used by some inappropriate way, right? So if such kind of application use blockchain to solve this kind of problems, we will say they have the pain points. And the second is we need this project to be a team. You're not playing all the game by yourself, right? You're not a lone hero. Not everybody, not all these teams, they have Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Ma inside of them, even though they are playing like a team. So we need these projects to have a very good and strong team to support the applications. The third one is quite important is we need these guys to have resources in their application vertical business fields. Because even you have these first two criteria, but you don't have the sufficient resources in the vertical business, we think, yeah, you might still succeed in the future, but the possibility comparing with the following three projects may be a bit lower. And you know, people get anxious how to choose a good blockchain application project, because we see a lot of negative news. We also heard about the scams. So here the One Lab is helping people or helping the blockchain society how to evaluate a decent and good application project. So back to the classic investment idea, we use some KPI or indexes to describe. Oops, sorry. So I listed 4 of these. You may be aware of these terminologies like monthly active users, stock keeping unit, gross merchandise volume, and transaction per second. So just suppose any of these application projects, they should at least have 1, 2, or even 4 of these indexes when their chain or dApps alive, right? Definitely you need users. You need SKU. So here SKU meaning in the blockchain is the smart contracts and the dApps, the quantity of the dApps on the chain. Also definitely you have the gross merchandise volume monthly, quarterly, and the transaction per seconds. So if we evaluate this is really a good project or not, still we can use these kind of parameters as some benchmarking in the future to evaluate. So that's the idea when Lab is brought to the whole society. As we can see, all these 4 indexes can be witnessed in the following 3 projects. And the project teams can give you some details on how they show you their applications combined with blockchain technology can really help the ordinary people to help the society to change something. At least we can change something that we are not willing to have, like in the monopolized internet business apps. So here are the 3 applications. One is for the decentralized games platform called GameBank. AllSpark is a knowledge advertisement sharing and self-media platform, which I think everybody can use this kind of services after their presentation. And UTour is to change the online travel agency, this structure, to providing better services and transparent services. So I know because each of these projects only has 15 minutes to present, but they have actually a lot more to discuss with you guys. So we just arrange another meetup in Tokyo at 6. So here are the address. So welcome everybody to join our meetup. So you have an opportunity to face-to-face question these founding teams of these 3 projects. So thanks, everybody. So here I will like to introduce the first application project called UTour. And the co-founder, Bowen. So let's welcome Bowen for the next 15 minutes. I wish you can bring to all of our society and fans a completely new horizon, how blockchain can change the Expedia, the C-chip, this price line, okay? So welcome, Mr. Bowen.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. UTour. Actually, everybody travels, everybody tour. So it's a project for every you, each you. Suppose everybody have a trip or tour to make. Before you go, you're trying to plan what to eat, where to stay, how to get there, what place to visit, maybe some guy in the local place I can visit and ask for some recommendation, guidance, and something. For example, last month, my Japanese MBA colleague went to Beijing. Actually, myself booked a hotel room for him, which the price is way lower than Expedia Priceline and the Chinese Sea Trip, because I have the connection to the hotel myself. And also, I took him to a real Peking roast dark restaurant and told him this is the real Chinese roast dark, and never go to some place which only takes tourists. And also this afternoon, after the meeting, I will meet my classmate to see what is the real sushi and sashimi. So what if you don't have someone in Beijing or in Tokyo, some friends in the local place? Probably you will go to TripAdvisor to find some article who can guide you, give you some recommendation, and you to sort up all the information to make a plan yourself. So will you have fun according to those kind of article or recommendation yourself? Probably yes. But can you get the cost performance balance? And have you been the place you really want to go? Can you find those kind of information? Probably not. Why? Because of the supply chain, the value chain of the current tourism industry, the OTA era. What is OTA? It's called online travel agency. Probably it's not that popular in Japan, but it's popular in like the US, Europe, especially in China. All the suppliers scramble on the OTA platform to seek customers, and all the customers are trying to find information and trying to make a transaction with the real suppliers on the OTA platform. Let's say Priceline, Expedia, Sea Trip, TripAdvisor, Booking, Agoda, Airbnb are all those kind of, sorry, it's not the same, on the OTA platform, but it's a highly monopolized industry. All the informations are gathered by the OTA, so you may see a lot of like Uber price scandal news and Chinese price discrimination scandal news on some media, because all the traffic entrance has been monopolized by the OTA, and most of the OTA only delivers the transportation tickets and the hotel, but it cannot really define what is tourism is, because just as we said, tourism includes transportation, accommodation, what to eat, what to play with, where to visit, and what guys you can play with together, and all of those things. So tourism is kind of like more customized, heavy service and heavy operation industry, which cannot be fulfilled by the OTA. They all delivers the standard service. Let's say 25% of the payment are gained by the OTA, which can make more than 50%, maybe sometimes 70% gross margin, but all the real service and products provider only can make like little single-digit margin. Some of them are just make even, maybe below. All the customers can pay the whole package of money but get very unsatisfactory services. So it's an unhappy phase. OTA and the tourism online community cannot fulfill all the customers' customized, diversified needs because of the information asymmetry, and all the OTA offers the standard services. So what's the future of the industry? Actually, blockchain can resolve all those kinds of problems. Communitization, diversification, globalization, and all the reputation be word of mouth being spread and be record on reality, and all the consensus is made between the suppliers and the customers directly. So which the blockchain give us the mission to change the relation of production of tourism industry. We call it distributed tourism services. We call it DTS. With the DTS on the tourism, we trying to make the first industrial blockchain, what we call the LANchain, connected to WanChain. We're trying to make a more transparent value mechanism system in the industry to make the suppliers, the real suppliers, and the customers can directly make transaction, and the flexibility of cooperation between suppliers freely, and most important, to fulfill the customers' customized needs on tourism. We can see, we just talk about the current pay-service imbalance under the OTA era. And with the blockchain into this industry, people may pay more than 750 more for better service, and all the real suppliers can make more money with more motivation to deliver those kind of better services. So on the UTour DTS, the blockchain, the small b, we call small b and big B, the real suppliers, especially we define the small b as guide, private guide, and influencers. Especially in Japan, you don't have that kind of big OTA. When I come to Japan for the first time, I need to find a private guide. Especially today, we have our translator, interpreter, and photographer, all through a diversified service system. We're trying to put all on the DTS, and also the OTA, if he can deliver real services, he can also become a DApp on the DTS, and the product provider and service product. At the previous time and the current time, most of the suppliers are product provider, because they don't have deep communication, service oriented to the customers. Just put the product there. You come here, take it, and do that. But with the service provider, the two ends, customers and suppliers, they can connect to each other, talk about the transaction. All the transaction information will be recorded, and all the the reputation of the suppliers can be recorded. So which makes product provider into a service provider. And below, all those kind of DApp and function will be put on the TTS to make the transaction much better and the service much better. Yeah, this is the structure of the smart contract on the DTS. We have our own IT system, and all the smart contract information be recorded, and all the service must be conducted according to the contract information. And also, we have two accounts, the reputation accounts of the suppliers, and also the transaction account with token circulation and maybe currency circulation on the system. Let's say, for example, one guys want to go somewhere. They firstly seek for some information, and during the trip, they can see the flexible collaboration between suppliers, and after that, the reputation of the suppliers be accumulated, and trying to spread to another and the next customers. For example, a family planning for a beach vacation. Mr. Tour have put an article on a review of Pattaya's everything there, and connect to all the suppliers on the DTS. The family make a decision and execute. After that, to make review, make articles to review all the supplies they have, they had. For example, with the smart contract, they can be flexible, organized of all the supplies together. The family can pay directly to the landlord, who can organize all the other suppliers and pay directly to one guy. Or with the smart contract, you put everyone with the only ID address on the DTS and freely make the payment and supervise and monitor all the service on DTS of every suppliers. The tokens has been circulation between Mr. Tour who make the review, the customer can see. Also, the diving structure thanks the landlord for his customer acquisition. And the DTS system also works. He rewards the original review from the Mr. Tour. And all the customers can reward the service guard and rewards the suppliers. So everybody in the system, they can have different role. For example, in Beijing, I am a landlord, I'm a provider. But in Tokyo, I'm a customer. We have a very, very good cycle of everyone. So we call it UTour, U-guide. Just like the translate and the photographer we have, they are the guide for me now. And back in China, maybe back in Osaka somewhere, he will find someone to be his guide on the blockchain, on the DTS system. Thanks very much to WanChain to give us the technology support to connect to WanChain, and maybe we can connect different kinds of real business scenes. Let's say game, tourism, and maybe restaurant, something, everything, we can put it together. Why us? I may trying to clarify very more why we can succeed. Firstly, we have a very important partner which is called 粤旅会 in Chinese, and in English it's called Global Joy Tour. It's a club which have over 90,000 members who are mostly the local private guide who also have their customers, members with them. So we have over 5 million transactions already happened on the Joy Trip system. We were trying to make him adapt, and we will have this. Actually, the Joy Trip has only founded less than half a year. The members of the system are growing, let's say, 100,000 each month, and which makes maybe by the end of this year, the transaction, the user of the Joy Trip will over 50 million this year. And all those members are not only doing the business in China, they are connected to some partners in Korea, in the US, and in somewhere else. And they are trying to seek more cooperation in Japan now. We also have Zhiding, we call it direct booking. It's a SaaS provider which have over 6,000 hotels, SaaS system, all the booking, the marketing system connected to the main server. So all the supply chain of the hotels has been controlled by this company. We can share the room booking, and also every hotel have their own customer systems. Let's say each hotel have more than 1,000 members or registered members they have. They can all put the members on chain. We also have FESCO. It's the Foreign Enterprise Service Corporation, which have 350,000 members in China. Especially those foreigners, they are travel all over China. The hospitality, the service, the everything, they are being taken care of by this organization, and this organization trying to put all the members on chain. And we also have another two partners. One is in Korea, one is in Orlando, actually the Florida of US. They have over, the Keyring Hotel Group have over 1,000 vacation houses, and maybe the same number of private guide in all over Florida. We can put all the members, the tourists there to to make the transaction. And the Sheila is owned by Samsung, which have 13 luxury hotels and, most important, 2 duty-free stores. All the international tourists will rush into the duty-free stores, especially Chinese girls trying to buy a lot of facial things or some. So that's why we were trying to, actually all the dApps are now be under development. The board, myself, actually I'm in industry, investment industry for over 10 years. I invested in Alibaba for $200 million and make 3 times return, 4 times return. And mostly I focus on, I covered at TMT and some other sectors. I have made over $10 billion in investment and M&A. M&A is very big for different kinds of company in the same industry or different industry to merge together. Mr. Dai is one of the founder of the top 2 OTA platform in China, which is called UTour, and he is a old man in tourism industry. Also, we have Mr. Liu Yi. He is the top 2. We just told just now the top 2 SaaS provider, hotel SaaS provider, sports. And we have Mr. Chen. He is a continuous startup, a tech geek, who is currently our tech head. We have an even stronger advisor team, Mr. Huang, who is the former CFO of Kingsoft, who is the partner of the Chinese Steve Jobs, Lei Jun, who owns Me.com, the cell phone maker. We also have Mr. Yao. 58.com is an internet giant in China. And also we have Fritz. Fritz is the first CEO and the founder of UTour. And we have other 3 all works in the management of the internet giants company. They have their own VC fund. Upcoming next, we are trying to put the first batch of partners on our chain as a dApp. And also we're trying to put more guys, influencer guides, all the suppliers, more and more suppliers to trying to grow the ecosystem. And maybe one day we will trying to make the OTA guys become dApp on our chain. So our goal is to make the DTS worldwide. Thank you very much for listening.
All right, hello everybody. Wait, will we get the PowerPoint changed here? My name is Kevin Cook. I've been working in advertising for a little while. I live in Shanghai. I've been there for 4.5 years. And I'm going to introduce the AllSpark chain to you today. So I want to ask you, do you remember a time 30 years ago when you would sit down with your family and have coffee and breakfast, and you would catch up on the daily happenings in the newspaper, right? And this newspaper was funded by you, the reader, and also by the newspaper's advertisers. So essentially, this is a very simple chain where you as a reader were paying for content, and the advertisers were paying for your attention. Now it's a little bit different. You're probably getting most of your news today on one of these social media platforms, probably Twitter. If you're like me, if you live in China, it's probably WeChat, the one on the far right. And even these traditional news platforms like CNN, NBC, and the New York Times, they report their news on these platforms. They're indispensable. So now before I introduce the AllSpark chain to you, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 main players in this, and you are definitely at least one of them. So UGC, right? All of you probably have a video camera and a microphone in your pocket right now. If you have a smartphone, you are technically a person who can create user-generated content. Next, self-media. This is a term that we coined for anyone who has a wide influence, or actually anyone who has even a meager influence, whether you're someone with a few dozen friends from high school on Facebook, or you're someone with a few 100,000 loyal followers and fans, you are your very own self-media. And finally, advertisers, right? Even today, 30 years after this newspaper era, advertising of commodities, brands, and services is just as important as it's ever been. And brands, just like before, are trying to create this connection between you and some service that they're selling. And all of these are very interconnected. And in fact, they will often overlap. And I'll demonstrate exactly how that works in just a moment. But before we do that, let me share with you the inherent problems that advertisers, UGC, and self-media all experience. For advertisers, the cost per click and the cost per 1,000 views is getting higher, and the conversion rate is getting lower, which leads to higher costs. What's more, self-media and partnerships associated with advertisers and self-media are highly dispersed, so it's really difficult to put the right branded content in front of eyes that will actually consume it. Next, the advertising data that advertisers see might not be correct, right? If it's provided by the service provider, how does an advertiser know that that data is real, it's legitimate? And finally, an ROI is close to impossible to monitor because, again, these platforms, these centralized platforms, aren't exactly transparent. Next, with self-media, right? It's difficult to put the appropriate content, like I said before, in front of the right eyes because of how dispersed self-media is. Also, the Matthew effect. I'm sure you've heard of this. Essentially, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And self-media is certainly not immune. So approximately the top 1% of self-media today are working with approximately 90% of advertisers. So what that creates is a huge decrease in enthusiasm for anyone to be a product of self-media. And finally, for people who create user-generated content, let's face it, only a handful of people are going to see the things that you upload when you put it on your social media, unless you have a really significant following, which I'm sure some of you do. But these centralized apps and websites make it really difficult for grassroots to emerge. I'm sure some of you have amazing cameras. You produce amazing videos, right? You write great stories and make great music. But how is that ever going to get to the right audience? It's very difficult with these centralized apps. And good luck getting a copyright, right? You upload something, and I've experienced this multiple times as a blogger. I've seen my content uploaded to these Western platforms, and then immediately taken and re-uploaded onto Chinese platforms, and I have no control over it. Right? It's very frustrating because I can't reap any benefits from this massive audience that's consuming my content that I created. So let's rebuild this production relationship, and that's what AllSpark is here to introduce to you. So here's an ideal relationship right here. It's in its very simplest form. The income from a consumer goes to the creator of the content, the UGC, as well as the self-media. Right now, this is virtually impossible because there's always some kind of middleman, some kind of centralized app that interferes with this. But if a dividend can be equally shared, everyone would benefit equally. All right, here's one more ideal means of relations of production here. Right, so the income of the consumer is going direct to the advertiser this time. And a dividend is then being given to the UGC, the person who created the content. As well as a dividend is being shared to the self-media, the person who shared it. So in many ways, the self-media is being paid the same way that an advertiser is being paid, right? I guess in basic terms, a really easy way to remember this sort of model would be your grandmother could make some kind of passive income off of an affiliate partnership with something she shared on her Facebook. So if that sounds a little complicated, I'll hopefully highlight some examples a little bit further that can make it a little more easy to understand. So that's where the AllSpark LANchain ecology comes into play here, right? All the components link this relationship together. It will drastically increase security for everyone involved, ensuring copyrights for content creators, and make sure that everyone gets a fair share. If you're someone with a massive following on your social media and you share something that leads to a conversion, to a sale, why shouldn't you get a share of that? You're acting as an advertiser. Whether or not you realize it, you are advertising goods, commodities, and services every day on your social media. So, what has the power to do all of this? The AllSpark token. This is indispensable because it forms a value consensus for all of the contents created on these decentralized apps that would be created on the AllSpark blockchain, as well as centralized apps that you're already using. So all trades in this AllSpark ecology would be completed with the AllSpark token. Now, this is probably going to sound lofty, but in fact, we believe that Google, Facebook, Baidu, right? Baidu, a Chinese giant, AllSpark has the potential to grow larger than all of these combined. Right? You might chuckle a little bit, but the bottom line is this. These platforms have yet to reach their full potential because they are centralized, and AllSpark has the ability to connect all of these together. So here are some examples real quick of how these decentralized apps, or here are 3 decentralized app examples that we could apply to this AllSpark chain. So here's one scenario. There's an American author named Bob, and it says Game of Thrones. Obviously, Bob didn't write Game of Thrones, but Bob wrote this amazing novel, and he publishes it to a decentralized app on the AllSpark platform. There's a guy in China named Huang who sees it, and it's a great story. And Mr. Huang not only loves the story, he sees an opportunity here. So he reaches out to Bob via the AllSpark platform, and they enter into a smart contract where Huang will adapt Bob's novel and distribute this novel on the AllSpark platform for Chinese readers. Huang will then pay AllSpark credit to Bob for the copyright. Sorry, I'm moving quickly, but time is of the essence. Huang will then adapt this, the Chinese version, upload it to AllSpark, and from there, we, as the self-media, can take it from the AllSpark platform, this decentralized platform, and share it on these centralized platforms that we already know. These are some Chinese examples like WeChat, Baidu, Weibo, that are really popular. So again, Chinese readers get a little preview of the novel. They like the first 1 or 2 chapters, and then after reading a couple chapters for free, they opt to buy the rest of the book or buy in paid chapters. The same thing could be applied for television shows, videos. The same model could essentially work that way. And then the best part is a dividend would go fairly to every party involved. Bob would receive his share according to the smart contract. Huang would receive his share. And the self-media would in turn receive a dividend. You, as someone who shares this novel on your social media, would get a small portion. Imagine going to bed after sharing some information like this, and you've got 24 AllSpark tokens in your account, and you wake up, and you say 24.5 the next day. That's because a couple of your friends bought something that you shared. That would be pretty cool, and it's possible. Here's another scenario. A Chinese travel company wants to promote its tour to the Antarctic, but it doesn't have an agency. It doesn't have a team to create content. So it uploads a mission to an AllSpark decentralized app. And there is a writer named Ho Deju who lives somewhere in China, and he sees this, and he takes this mission, and he writes a great story, but he lacks a great photo. But that's okay, because Alice from another country has uploaded some photos from her trip to the Antarctic. which Hodeju can use. So he reaches out to her, they negotiate a smart contract. Ho writes the copywriting, he uses Alice's photo, he submits it for review for the advertiser, and then it is published on the AllSpark platform with the advertiser's approval. Again, we see the self-media model here. People like it, they start to share it, right? Netizens read it, wow, this is great. They decide to purchase it, a little expensive, but hey, you know, you're going to the Antarctic. And then everyone in this chain receives a fair share. The UGC-A, UGC-B, from different countries even, the advertiser, and of course, the self-media, the people that shared it. And all of this is possible because even though they're in different countries, they use the AllSpark token, which again forms a value consensus for all parties involved. Again, here's the same model, just a little bit different with an interface. Finally, our third scenario. An advertiser releases a design task, right? This company has the means to produce clothing, but they lack the funds to create designs, right? They need some creatives here. So they upload a task on an AllSpark decentralized app. And if these designers all accept the tasks and begin uploading their different designs, netizens begin to buy and spread these designs. And the AllSpark tokens are paid to these designers using a share of the revenue generated by the confirmed sales. Self-media can also share these, and again, they will benefit from this whole transaction. Advertiser pays the agreed costs and proceeds, and the designers, again, can turn into advertisers by sharing this on their own social media. Oh, and of course, anyone who isn't selected by this company as a losing designer would feel safe knowing that they have a copyright. The design that they worked hard on is still safe because it's uploaded to the blockchain. So finally, here's some advantages of how decentralized apps could function on the AllSpark chain. One, they can be combined with related centralized apps. Like I said before, these decentralized apps, which will soon be created, could be connected with Facebook, Baidu, Google, Weibo, and basically being the first of its kind to do anything like this. Operation costs would be reduced to a minimum for the advertiser and for UGCs. It would be faster and more secure for everyone involved, right? Especially for advertisers, there's no money on the front end. Content creation is cheaper and easier. And finally, ROI monitoring is fully transparent for advertisers. You will know exactly where every sale comes from and exactly what works and what doesn't, so you know exactly where to put your money. Here's how I know AllSpark will succeed. Not only do we have an abundance of resources, but we have a stellar team of partners, and we have the know-it-all in advertising and social media. In fact, where's my partner from Shanghai? Kevin Yuan? You here? No? Anyway, Kevin's helping me to create this project. Basically, we're working with WanChain. He's got all these connections with Baidu, Tencent, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn. We've got 20,000 advertisers ready with more than $1 billion in annual income. More than 90,000 active self-media, who additionally provide 7,000 daily pieces of content on platforms like Baidu and Tencent within the China sphere. Essentially, what we have is the greatest launching pad for this application, because all of these players are going to jump into it when it is launched. So finally, here are our goals. First, the bottom line. We understand advertisers. We understand the problems that the media faces, and we understand that there is an unlimited demand that is yet to be met, and thus, AllSpark is born. With AllSpark, we can turn our social media into real tangible income. Advertisers will reduce their marketing costs and have real ROIs that they can see transparently. And also, the more creative you are, the more wealth you will achieve. Everyone involved wins. So thank you so much. And if you would like to join our meetup, Friday I'll be there at 7:30 with the WanChain group. And thank you.
Congratulations. How to use it? How to use it? Thanks, Kevin. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joey, and I'm a co-founder of GameBank. And many of you may have already learned our project, and some of you may know what we are going to do, and our missions, visions. It's my honor today to share you this opportunity. At least in my view, it's a great way lead to the future of Game Kingdom. So, what is a game? What is actually the game relationship between the game and the human being? What is the actual role of games and the game industries in our current lives? In my opinion, the game is not only an excessive attention for few people, but actually is full of human nature. When we talk about a game, the first impression in your mind, what it is? It's Nintendo, Mario's, the PCs on your desk, or smartphone on your hand. When we look back at history, as early as the ancient Egyptian period, the earliest game is called the Senate, and in 1962, the first video game was born in MIT, and it becomes the Nintendo's Famicom in 1985, and now to host the game PS4, PC games you realize today. But actually, as increasingly people realize the game is no longer an excuse for us to point into the internet addiction years like 10 years ago. It becomes a giant industry, which is closely related to us in many aspects. And as we talked about, its history is even longer than football. It's a huge and vibrant market today. According to the news report, the game industries worldwide has accounted 1/3 of the world's workforce. And in 2017, the single players created a new value of $108 billion for the whole year. And by 2020, it was expected to reach $128 billion with an annual growth rate of 6.2%. It's really great number, don't you think? But as a game workers, I have to tell you, under this glorious number, glorious figures, the reality is so cruel. About 85% of the profit will be taken away by the intermediaries, from developers to platform. And in the past 15 years, the great industry has caused irreparable losses, infringement, piracy, and malicious competition for the whole industry. As the small producers, we also face the problem and take the risk of out of money when we take the risk of, for example, like no prepayment, no agency fee, something like that. We also face the problem that we worried one day we have to become the company that achieve profit and lost our creativity. Even in such an environment, we still read minds and believe in yourselves and keep saying this to us. The business we eat, at least our players are happy. But the truth is, are we players really happy? I hear the countless players complaining this to me. Oh, is my investment really worthwhile? Is my time and the money put on the game the cost really safe? Or, you know, that almost every game is relevant to the independent. So we can't transfer assets from one game to another. The interlink between the game is so weak. And the fewer people are really getting into the communities. It's no longer like 10 years before as World of Warcraft, and it cannot surpass until today. So, are we the players we care about that are really happy? The answer is no. The whole industry is in a vicious circle. The practitioners are facing the situation that the good game can't be produced. The good game is really difficult to be known by people, and the game profit cannot be protected. Game players face the situation the same way. They can't find their favorite games. The game assets cannot be protected, or interlinked in this awkward situation. We are consuming our passions, and we are wasting our lives. This is us. We get the idea, GameBank. When the blockchain technology engages with the game, let's play the game another way. Simply defining, the GameBank is a distributed game symbiotic platform which based on the game assets and rely on the whole chain basic protocol architecture and providing open interface. This is what is the GameBank actually is. We want to provide a platform that without intermediaries, that PCs as game makers can produce their game and public games more freely and more comfortably. And we also provide crowdfunding support for them in case they're out of money. We want the CP and the players' relationship is deeply communicate, and they can know each other. That's why we do this, we do this game, and what we should do next. And meanwhile, the PCs will get a certain reward, like profit, directly going into their account as token. And in that case, we get literally the cash flow for the game industries. And for the game players, it's still as the traditional ways. They can still buy and fund the games at the platform. They can sell and transfer assets at the platform. They can give comments and do ratings, everything they want. But beyond that, we want to enhance the communities. So we give a certain reward if they, for example, like do high quality strategies or wheels for the certain games, and the system or the CPs will give it certain token rewards to them. We also do the third-party support. The support service through various API and SDKs, and of course, we will take some service fee and profit from that. And this part, we talk about how it changed the immutable data. As the original way at the left, PCs publish their information, publish the game information, and do everything they want at the left side and sell the games. But now we want all the information that's going to the right side, the JB chains. Through smart contract, we can protect the game and protect yourself. And this part is talking about special scenarios that we want to build a FIRE benefits allocations. In the top part, we talk about that if one company, they're out of money, but they really want to achieve and complete their games. So in that case, they will share probably 100 of the stock hold to another company. They can help them finish the game. And once that happens, we don't want bad things happen like you stole my idea, it's mine, so the smart contract will keep that safe. And in the bottom part is for the scenario that I don't want to sell 100 of my company. I just want to sell some. I want people help me to finish my dream. So you can do whatever you want, like 10%, 20%, and 50%, and they will get profit as what the smart contract said. This is for players. We want to use the technology to increase the scenarios that help players find what is the right game, what's their favorite. We also do the depth like the list, what they're going to next, and we can create like some videos that are special for each kind of players. For example, I'm a male and I'm like FTP or RTS game, then the system will give me a video of new game list. What should I do next? And as we talked above, we also do expert recommendations that the people who get the reward as token will give you advice what should do next, and makes the players get a better experience. This is the part we still talk about the FIRE assets trading. Even in what kind of these three environments, that's like if I'm buying games from the CPs, I'm trading my assets from account to account to different people, or even in-app purchases. Whatever the method you use, like if you still pay with cash, pay with your credit card, MasterCard, something like that, or you want to buy the game, sell things with token, everything in this case will provide their safety. We use directly support, reward system, as well as crowdfunding to help three parts of our platform. In that case, we keep the entire ecology that make them safe. And this is our basic architecture built by us, and all of this information, details, is covered in the white papers, probably in your hand. So we don't waste too much of time today to talk about this. This is GameBank. We are reinventing the game experience. We are reinventing the game assets. We're rebuilding the game symbiotic platform. We're reassembling the game distribution patterns. So we're here to reinventing the global symbiotic platform and from the industries to players. And the last, the key question is, why us? So far, we have deeply communicated with like lots of game makers, such as Werewolf, UTour, Texas Pokers, Tooling Cat, something like that, will join the platform as our first bench. And in our subsequent planning, selected vendors and game will join the platform as soon as possible. We can directly communicate over 20 million users at the first time. And secondly, this is our team. We get industries comprehensive and advanced teammates and consultants. In that case, on our road to the first bench, they will cover almost every areas of the game and the blockchain technology industries, so make us to be the leader and become our first hub. Here's the video to show you.
大家好，我是WanToys王金。WanToys 作为国内知名的 IP 衍生品品牌呢，刚刚完成了1亿元人民币的 A 轮融资。WanToys 处于这样一个与 IP 及粉丝密切结合的行业。我们认为区块链技术也将深刻影响着这个产业的发展。我们也正在和 GameBank 就区块链技术进行着深入的讨论。希望双方能够合作打造一个未来全新的游戏生态。GameBank 让游戏换一个玩法。
大家好，我是骄阳网络的联合创始人张冠华。骄阳网络作为2017年最佳出海游戏企业，已经在全球50多个国家建立起500多个运营的渠道。现在和这个 GameBank 能够在区块链上携手，积极的在海外市场做布局，希望在新的1年里能够有在区块链上的一个发展，让游戏换一种玩法。
大家好，我是九游网的 CEO 顾毅。九游网是中国第一代互联网游戏运营商。GameBank 作为区块链技术在游戏行业的先行者和探索者，我们双方正在深度合作，积极布局区块链游戏在海外市场推广和应用。让我们一起努力，让游戏换一种玩法。
大家好，我是 SMG48 Group 的副总裁熊涛。SMG48 是全球华语地区规模最大的女子偶像团体，也是一个真正由粉丝来打造偶像的造星平台。这种通过粉丝来决定偶像定位、属性以及未来发展的模式，与区块链去中心化分布式架构有着天然的契合点。在游戏领域，我们希望携手 GameBank 一起探索区块链和偶像养成游戏的结合，期待产生一系列化学反应，带来全新的游戏体验。
So basically what they are really talking about, and sorry, we don't have the Japanese version and the English version here. What they basically talk is, I'm a boss, I got money, I got resources, I support the GameBank, so join us, something like that. So this is the GameBank we talk about. And today I'm here to share these opportunities, and we got the information desk outside in front of the door. So also can join us to meet up night. We don't have too much of time here, but looking for your attention, and thank you. Let's play the game another way. Thank you.